Welcome to Forbidden Files. For over a century, archaeologists hacked through some of the densest jungle on Earth, searching for the lost cities of the Maya. They found temples, they found pyramids, they found ruins swallowed by centuries of forest growth. And they thought they had a pretty good picture of what the Maya civilization looked like. They were wrong. Not slightly wrong, catastrophically, fundamentally, completely wrong. Genius. In 2018, scientists flew a plane over the jungles of northern Guatemala and fired lasers at the ground. Millions of laser pulses, shooting down through the tree canopy, bouncing off whatever lay beneath, and returning precise measurements in milliseconds. What the data revealed, sitting in their offices, staring at their screens, made researchers go quiet. Below the trees, invisible to any human eye, hidden for 1,000 years, was an entire world. Not a village, not a city. A civilization of a scale nobody had imagined possible. 61,000 structures spread across 810 square miles of jungle. Pyramids, palaces, highways, farms, factories, fortifications. All of it invisible from above, all of it waiting beneath the trees. Marcelo Canuto, one of the lead researchers, described what the data showed. LiDAR has shown that the Maya lowlands were a densely occupied landscape, he said, comparable in scale and complexity to the ancient civilizations of China or Southeast Asia. Not comparable to what they had believed about the Maya, comparable to China. To understand what was discovered and why it mattered so much, you need to understand what archaeologists thought they knew. The Maya civilization flourished from roughly 250 AD to 900 AD. At its height, it produced some of the most sophisticated mathematics, astronomy, and architecture in the ancient world. A calendar tracking cycles of 5,125 years. Pyramids aligned to the exact position of the sun on the solstice. The only fully developed writing system in the pre-Columbian Americas. The only fully developed writing system in the pre-Columbian Americas. From the sites archaeologists could reach, a consensus had emerged. The Maya lived in relatively isolated city-states, each one a ceremonial center surrounded by smaller settlements, separated from its neighbors by uninhabited jungle. Population estimates placed the civilization at perhaps 5 million people at its peak. Impressive, but not extraordinary. The technology that changed everything is called LiDAR, light detection and ranging. A sensor fires up to 500,000 laser pulses per second toward the ground. Each pulse hits a surface and bounces back, and the sensor calculates the precise distance to whatever it hit. In a dense forest, most pulses hit the canopy, but some find gaps and reach the ground. When the software filters out the canopy returns, what remains is a precise three-dimensional map of everything beneath the trees. As if the forest simply wasn't there. As if the forest simply wasn't there. A jungle that looks like an unbroken carpet of green becomes, in LiDAR data, a detailed map of every wall, every road, every building hidden below. Everything humans ever built, revealed by the bounce of a laser pulse. Medium pause. The 2018 discovery came from the Pacunam LiDAR Initiative, funded by Guatemala's Maya Cultural Heritage Foundation in partnership with Tulane University and 18 other institutions. The team covered 2,144 square kilometers of Guatemala's Petén region, the heartland of classic Maya civilization, the largest LiDAR survey ever conducted over a Maya archaeological zone. Over several years of flights, hundreds of millions of laser pulses were fired into the jungle. The canopy was digitally stripped away, and the researchers saw for the first time what lay beneath. What they found was not cities in a jungle. It was a jungle that was entirely a city. Even at Tikal, one of the most studied Maya sites on Earth, excavated since the 1950s, the LiDAR revealed things nobody had seen. A 90-foot-tall pyramid that had been mapped by archaeologists for 60 years as a natural hill. 60 years of fieldwork at one of the most famous sites in the Americas, and a pyramid was hiding in plain sight. Across 810 square miles, roughly the size of the greater Los Angeles metropolitan region, the researchers identified 61,000 individual structures. Houses, palaces, pyramids, ceremonial platforms, defensive walls, agricultural terraces. Barely a square kilometer was without evidence of human construction. Connecting the structures was a network of elevated causeways, massive raised roads stretching between settlements across the landscape. Some up to 130 feet wide, wider than a modern 6-lane highway. Built without the wheel, without iron tools, without draft animals. Archaeologist Richard Hansen described them as, and I quote, "the world's first superhighway system that we have." And the land between the structures was not empty jungle. What archaeologists had dismissed as uninhabitable swampland was actually something extraordinary. Vast networks of raised agricultural fields, elevated platforms surrounded by irrigation canals that transformed swamps into farmland, reservoirs, dams, water management infrastructure rivaling anything in the ancient world. The Maya had not adapted to their landscape. They had rebuilt it. The population estimates were completely rewritten. The old consensus, 5 million Maya at the civilization's peak, was based on the assumption that much of the landscape was empty. The 2018 study revised the estimate to between 10 and 15 million people. Then in 2025, a new study covering 95,000 square kilometers revised it again, between 9.5 and 16 million people at peak. "We expected a modest increase," lead researcher Estrada Belli said. "Seeing a 45% jump was truly surprising." And then in 2024, it happened again. A PhD student at Tulane University named Luke Auld Thomas was on approximately page 16 of a Google search when he found something odd. A LiDAR dataset collected in 2013 by a Mexican environmental organization gathered to measure tree heights in the state of Campeche, Mexico. It had never been analyzed for archaeology. Nobody had thought to look at it that way. Auld Thomas processed the data using archaeological methods. What appeared on his screen had been sitting in a publicly available database for 11 years, unseen and completely unknown. A city, later named Valeriana, after a nearby lagoon. 6,674 structures spread across an area 1.5 times the size of Washington, D.C. Pyramids resembling those at Chichen Itza, ball courts, enclosed plazas, wide causeways, a reservoir, a complete ancient city, hidden next to a highway that people drove along every day. A complete ancient city, hidden next. Valeriana had been founded before 150 AD. At its peak between 750 and 850 AD, it housed between 30,000 and 50,000 people, more than the entire modern population of the region today. We also found a large city with pyramids right next to the area's only highway, Auld Thomas said, near a town where people have been actively farming among the ruins for years. One of the most striking revelations of the LiDAR surveys was Maya warfare. The old image of peaceful astronomers and isolated city-states dissolved. Surrounding many settlements were massive fortifications, defensive walls stretching for kilometers, deep trenches, moats, earthworks. A landscape permanently organized around the threat of war. A civilization with the same military logic as every other major ancient power, at a scale only the lasers could reveal. And then, between roughly 800 and 1000 AD, it ended. The classic Maya collapse saw city after city abandoned across the lowlands. Millions of people vanished from their cities. The jungle grew back. The causeways were swallowed. The pyramids became hills. And for 1,000 years, the trees kept the secret. The LiDAR is now helping explain why. The same surveys that revealed Maya civilization also revealed the scale of Maya environmental transformation. When prolonged droughts struck between 800 and 1000 AD, documented in lake sediments and tree rings, the hydraulic systems that sustained millions began to fail. The raised fields flooded or dried out. The reservoirs emptied. A civilization built on mastering water collapsed because the water stopped coming. A lesson that has not gone unnoticed by climate scientists looking at our own century. The Maya discoveries triggered a global revolution in archaeology. The same technology has since found lost cities under the Amazon, revealed the true scale of the Khmer Empire in Cambodia, and uncovered ancient urban complexes in Ecuador and Southeast Asia. Every jungle, every forest, every landscape where people once lived and trees eventually grew is now a potential site of discovery. The descendants of the Maya, approximately 8 million people living today in southern Mexico and Central America, have always known their ancestors built something extraordinary. What the lasers revealed was exactly how extraordinary. The jungle looks the same as it always did. Green, dense, impenetrable. But now we know what is underneath it. Tens of thousands of structures, millions of people's lives, a civilization that was, for 1,000 years, simply hiding, waiting for someone to look closely enough. And the surveys are not finished. The Maya lowlands cover hundreds of thousands of square kilometers. The LiDAR has covered a fraction of that. What else is down there? Nobody yet knows. For a century, we thought we understood the Maya. We had their pyramids, we had their writing, we had their calendar. For a century, we thought we understood. And we had completely missed the civilization itself, the millions of people, the highways, the farms, the cities, hidden in plain sight beneath the trees. The lasers found what human eyes missed for 1,000 years. Which raises the question, what else are we walking past every day without seeing? Which raises the question, if that question is sitting with you, drop it in the comments. We read every one. And if you want more stories like this, the subscribe button is right there. The next file is already open.